and welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Candrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are the
Yerky
Boys. Here with Megamorphs 3.
Go
Back
on.
after the holidays.
I think you forgot part of that.
Elfangor Secret.
There you go, which was released in
That's your job.
May of 1999.
Yeah, I didn't look that up. It's 99 sometime, I know that.
Yeah, this is the episode years in the making.
It sure is.
Waiting a long time for this one.
Yeah, people have been champing at the bit for this one.
Oh, they've been champing the fuck out of that bit.
Yeah, I've been hearing those champs.
That bit didn't know what the fuck champed it.
I'm excited.
Wow, 2024?
Oh shit! Because the little behind the scenes sneak peek. It's not 2024 when we're recording this. I didn't even realize this was our first episode of 2024.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're right, yeah, it is.
No,
oh,
that's
yeah.
cool.
Wow. Wow.
Doesn't that excite you?
Wow.
Wow.
My dick's getting hard.
This holiday, holiday season is over, and it's time for Megamorphs and Animorphs and all kinds of goodness.
Hypothetical scenario.
Yeah.
K.A. Applegate is bored one day and thinks, I wonder what people are talking about Animorphs. Look, I don't know. I'm just going to see, there's some podcasts. Oh, it's the latest episode. Oh, interesting. Megamorphs 3. I remember that one. What do you think she's, that if that were to happen, what do you think she's thinking right now? 2 minutes in.
I think she's remembering finally. I think the time juice is dripping off of her, and she's remembering that time when we talked to her and gave her some ideas for this book way back when. And because she didn't at the time, I think she wasn't aware, and I'm pretty sure those time juices made her forget. But she's grateful to us, I think, is what she's thinking.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah. People may not know that we had K. Applegate, the younger version, on the show before. We used with the Time Matrix, which is heavily featured in today's episode.
Yes.
But before we get into the book and that discussion, we do have a little bit of 2024 sharing to do.
Ooh, the sharing.
Thanks. I didn't have to prompt you. Just real quick this week. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but we got another wideband signal in from FLoom 12191.
Wow. Wait, what was the number again?
12191.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I checked it. It's there. So this is you can email us if you'd like, yerkyboys@gmail.com. FLoom wrote in good cycle and made the Candrona. I sure do miss the Candrona. FLoom 12191 here. Well, I can't tell you where I am or what host I'm currently inhabiting. You see, I'm on the run. Turns out the stories were true. Visser 3 was both ruthless as he was overconfident. I managed to crawl out of my dying dead body before it was fed to a gaggle of my preferred host. He's talking about Taxons, of course. I fear I'm saying too much, and do not know if this message will reach you or sub-Visser 21. If this is you, then might I say, congratulations on the start of your Patreon. Isn't that nice? Now, I'm going to pause here for a second to say, I'm so sorry we keep talking about our Patreon, but fuck you. We're going to talk about it some more, because FLoom wrote in and said that they have increased their pledge to 10 Earth dollars a month.
Wow.
And said, I hope you will find many more willing to contribute. Quite the opposite for me as I hide here looking up at the strangest collection of birds flying together. Weird? So FLoom here, I mean, above and beyond. How can I even begin to express gratitude for such a gesture?
Listen, you pay $10 a month, then you are allowed to use our podcast as a platform to write your fan fiction through. Like, if I think that's fair.
I mean, we will read any email that gets sent in on the show, but if you also support our Patreon and you pay double the actual amount it costs, then whatever the hell you want, we're your slaves.
Yeah, you want to keep writing this story that's happening in your emails. We'll read it through, and that can just be what people listen to from now on.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Anyway, Eflum does come in here with some Patreon suggestion. One Patreon suggestion says, he's been trying to brainstorm potential content for us. And his pitch is something called Context of Strength. Context with an X of strength. We will. The idea is listen to the Yerky Boys as they read and dissect the middle book of a series with zero context. Confusion, insight, and hilarity ensues in this Patreon exclusive miniseries, Context of Strength. What do you think about this idea?
I don't know what to make of this idea. It seems a little bit insane, to use Marco's favorite word.
Huh, well, this is a paying patron.
That's true. That is true.
Maybe you should be a little more gracious. And
we did start this Patreon because Eflum requested it and offered us money. So maybe that's just what we do from now on.
Yeah, I mean, we're down for. I think we're gonna need a suggestion of a book series because I don't know what book. I don't know where to choose a series and how to choose a middle book from it. Because it also it would need to be a book series for me that I don't care about reading at all. Because otherwise, I would be mad reading a middle book and think I was maybe it could be a young adult series. Maybe there's like a Maze Runner or some shit like that we could do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That could be the idea. But hey,
we're put that on the list of ideas.
Yeah, we like these suggestions, and other listeners, if that sounds fun, let us know, and let us know what series we should do that with. And Eflum also, my favorite part of this email, wrote in with some riddles.
What the fuck is this email?
There's a lot going on here.
What's happening?
So these are some Animorphs themed riddles, and I use that term. That's the term that Eflum used, not me. But I'm going to present them to you, Will, and you're going to try to see if you can solve these riddles.
Okay? Oh, geez. Okay.
There's only a few.
There's
only a few. This is a little preview of Stump the Buff.
I was not ready for a Stump the Buff today.
All right, riddle 1. These are all courtesy of Eflum here. Riddle 1.
Thanks.
If a single letter could mimic us, how would it tell us? Now, I'm going to go ahead here and say I think that this is not the strongest of the riddles.
Oh, no.
Submitted today. But this is the first riddle. Remember, it's Animorphs themed. If a single letter could mimic us, how would it tell us? Give you a minute to think about it.
What?
If a single letter...
I heard you.
So if a letter of our alphabet, okay,
yeah, could mimic us,
the Roman alphabet,
yeah, it could mimic, us, some undefined, unspecified us,
yeah,
that presumably
correct.
Figuring that out is part of the riddle.
Correct. Well, sort of. That one sort of just kind of tells you part of the answer, to be honest. How would it tell us? Do you give up?
Sure.
You should give up. The answer is LMUS. LMUS. Which if you think about it, I think the idea is that sounds a bit like Elemist.
Thanks everyone for listening. Tune in next time.
So that's the first riddle. Okay, so 0 for 1, but you still have a chance to come back. Now, I think you might get these next two. Okay?
Oh, no.
Riddle number 2. What do you call an ox with hurt feelings? Gotta think about it. What do you call an ox with... And remember, the answer is going to be an animal. You see the pattern here a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I do see the pattern.
What do you call an ox?
With hurt feelings. I can't make oxamilly work is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to do. It's
sort of a think laterally. Think about
clearly I have to think laterally.
It's not quite an ox, maybe, but something similar with hurt feelings.
Oh, so it doesn't have. So maybe it's like a yak.
Okay.
A yak.
Interesting
or bison.
theory. So what would one of those be with hurt feelings?
I don't know that I'm gonna get these.
Well, you can tap out anytime you want.
I guess I'm tapping out.
You were close. I'll tell you that. Look, I'll tell you. You got half of it. Yak is correct.
Yak is correct. Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from there.
Maybe you can extrapolate if you think about Animorphs characters, how that might fit in. No? Not helping
No.
you? All right.
No, I don't know.
The answer, of course, what you call an ox with hurt feelings is a cry yak.
Jesus Christ.
All right.
Oh my God.
One more for you. Now, I think this one you're going to get.
I don't think I am.
What is it called when someone has a foot fetish, but only for the big toe? Someone has a foot fetish, but only for the big toe. Come on, you can get this one.
I don't.
This is an easy one. This is a gimme.
Is it really?
Yes, it's so easy. This is the easiest one.
I don't know about that. Because you're looking at the answer right now.
What is it called when someone has a foot fetish, but only for the big toe?
I do not know. I do not know what to do with this. What do you want from me? This is insane.
The answer, obviously, everyone at home in their cars is shouting it out at you right now.
Uh-huh.
Toe bias.
I don't... Bias, really?
Yeah, toe bias.
That goes into fetish?
Yeah, you've got but only for the big toe. You've got a toe bias. You weren't thinking hard enough on that. That was one of the easiest ones.
Maybe you should have started with the easy one.
Well, that's the order that he wrote them in, so... Anyway, Flume continues, those weren't birds. They were, but also not. I don't know what I saw. Impossible. Only Andalites can... I'm going crazy without Kandrona. I'm going to keep moving, trash this station, and get out of this town. If you got this message, good. But if Subvisor 21 got it, listen close. I'm not dead, but soon you will be. Flume12191 signing out. Thanks for the signal, Flume. And if you would like to send us your own riddles at home along those lines, or any other questions or comments about Animorphs, you can. TheYerkyBoys@gmail.com. And of course, you can sign up for our Patreon at patreon.com/TheYerkyBoys for only $5. You don't need to spend twice as much. All right. That's all we got. We can get into the book now.
You might have to spend twice as much if you want me to answer your riddles.
There's a riddle tax.
The riddle tax.
Yeah, it reminds me of Tom Riddle. All right. Come on. Come on. None of that.
Yeah, that's not what we're here for today.
Come on.
Oh, my God. All right. What the
hell
book were we on?
We're talking about Megamorphs number 3, Elfangor's Secret. Do you think anyone ever just like reads the Megamorphs straight through? They don't know the series and they're like, oh, I'll read Megamorphs 1 and then 2 and then 3. Would it matter?
I don't know. I mean, honestly,
I mean, 1 and 2.
That's an interesting question. Yeah, 1 and 2. Number 1, you just have like a normal story. Number 2, we start getting into fucking Sario rips. And number 3, she was just like, remember how we did time travel one time in that other one? What if we did more?
Yeah, and I guess you wouldn't know like what the Drode is, but
do you know what the Drode is?
I have a pretty clear picture.
Okay.
Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, so this is a K.A. Applegate book. I think I may have
She's back,
earlier.
Baby.
She is back. I think at one point I was confused. I said like one of the Megamorphs might not have been K.A. Applegate, but all the Megamorphs are K.A. Applegate. So we are getting K.A. Applegates. Yeah, occasionally. We're not going to only have ghostwriters. We do have to deal with books like this occasionally.
Yep, we got to deal with them.
Here they are.
Yeah. So, cover?
cover. Yeah, we can finally get started talking about the cover.
Yeah, as you said last time, the gang's all here.
They are all here. We've got a lineup of them. They're all kind of. How would you describe these poses they're doing?
Cool. Well, they're not. There's no real rhyme or reason to any of them. They're just like most of them look like they're doing just kind of I'm trying to look cool here, except for Cassie, who looks like she's ready to like jump on somebody or something. I don't know what she's doing. She looks like she's in a defensive stance.
Yeah, it's very strange. She does look like maybe she's ready to run.
Now, I could have sworn when I looked at this that I had seen that Cassie picture before. And I looked back, and it's not from one of her covers. I thought maybe they just reused poses, but I think maybe it was maybe they put it in another book as like an ad or like it was on one of the calendars or bookmarks or something. Because I swear I remember that outfit. I don't know.
I guess, yeah.
But I think these are all original poses.
I think so too. All tucked in shirts, I'm noticing.
Except for maybe Rachel.
Yeah, I can't see with Rachel.
And maybe, I guess, Cassie, unless you count tucked into her overalls.
Yeah, I don't know that matters. Axe, very undynamic pose. He's just kind of standing there.
I mean, clearly, I mean, all these covers are all photoshopped, but this one really looks like it's ridiculous to say because these aren't obviously none of them are ever standing together, but this one looks like they just photoshopped them together and they weren't standing together. Now, who's in the background? Is that? Oh, I guess it's Elfangor.
Yeah, we got it's like a shiny cover background and a pair of eyes. Yeah, and the eyes are probably Elfangor's, I would assume.
Right, because that's his secret.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to. Yeah, and does your copy, is this just a mark that's on the Seropedia scan of the cover, or is there some bird shit on Cassie's overalls?
I don't see any bird shit.
Okay, I think that's just a little flaw in this picture scan, because there's like a white mark on her stomach on the
Yeah, I'm not getting that.
But there should be. She should be looking like Boy in the Heron all the time.
That's true. She should. That's a good timely reference there. Now, I do like there's texture to this cover, right?
Hey, we could do that. He turns into a heron. That could be a Patreon episode. There's a guy who turns in and out from heron to man.
Sure. Right. Yeah, we could do that.
All right.
We're off the Patreon for now.
I'm sorry.
We'll come back to it.
Came to me.
But yeah, I like. Is what's the word for this? Is it like embossed or something? It's but like the picture like stands out, right? The characters kind of pop out a little bit here, and actually like all the like wrinkles and ridges in their clothes do too. It's like it's a very, I don't know, it's fun. It's tactile as a cover.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, I don't get that effect looking at the scan, unfortunately, but
yeah,
that sounds cool.
It is fun. I like it.
Now, yeah.
Naturally,
we go to the inside cover.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed. So the quote we've got here is "time and time again," and 3 dots, 3-dot alert.
All right, 3-dot alert.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about time and time again?
It's not a complete time and time again. What? That's nothing. They didn't think that through.
That's fair.
But this picture in here.
Yes, there is a picture in here.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, this picture also has Photoshop issues. I'll just say, so we've got the Animorphs. They're in their battle morphs, and they're all kind of standing together, looking, face forward at, I guess, the viewer, the camera, whatever. Centered on Rachel's big elephant head. In the background, we've got, I guess, is what era is that? Is it a World War II era bomber? Yeah, I guess. And is that like, what is the blimp doing there? Like, that's not. There's no blimp. They didn't go to. I'll just let you know. There's no Hindenburg or whatever the fuck in this book.
I don't know about the blimp, but I think this is supposed to be Normandy.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is supposed to be Normandy. Now there are
There's
some
soldiers on the
size issue. Oh yeah, there are. Damn.
Yeah.
Because I can't help but look at this picture and just think, like, this tiger is tiny, and Axe is like 7 feet tall, at least, maybe more.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
the tiger's smaller than the wolf. Like, this tiger is the size of a large dog. Tobias has got to have like a fucking 7 foot. He's a golden eagle right here.
Wait, he is? Oh, you're.
Well, no, I mean like size wise he is.
So, yeah. Now, normally these inside covers, like even when they're kind of goofy, none of them have ever looked this bad. This really looks like someone spent 30 seconds pasting together the first Google image result of tiger gorilla and just like put no thought into where they were placed or how big they were. It is so sloppy looking. And the idea is supposed to be you open the cover and you close it and it's like you're going back and forth. Oh, there they are as humans. Then they transform. Except for Axe, who just has the exact same shitty, boring pose.
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about that. Axe lines up perfectly.
Yeah.
When I close the cover and flip him, that's just Jesus. That sucks.
Well, that could be cool if that was like the intention of. But
I mean, the rest of them don't line up because they can't. Like Rachel isn't like giant and filling the entire thing. Like
right.
they're in the same like lineup order, but like they don't map onto each other.
Yeah, as you said, it makes no sense. It's very poorly done, and I do like the look on Gorilla Marco's face, though.
I was gonna say that gorilla. I really like him a lot.
he's just like what huh? That's kind of the look he's giving me.
Oh yeah, he's got like reaction GIF energy going on right there.
They don't exactly look like they're excited or terrified or any other feelings you would have in the midst of a World War II battle. The Wolf Cassie kind of looks like someone just said, "You want a treat?" Like there's like it really does not make sense with what's going on in the background. This is a bizarre image.
Maybe Axe is in stasis, biostasis. That's why he looks like that.
But sure, a good theory. All right,
that's my theory.
I think we can get into it.
Yeah, I think we're ready to get into it
in record time.
So yeah, record in the longest ever.
A new record.
All right. So this book opens once again with a prologue. Not the first time we've seen a prologue, but they're kind of uncommon. And the prologue basically is just saying, hey, remember the Andalite Chronicles when Elfangor hid the time matrix on Earth? You remember that? He hid it here on Earth. It's here on Earth. There's not that much going on in that prologue, to be honest. But yeah, so the Animorphs, they all meet up at the barn like they usually do. Cassie has to dismiss her slaves so that she won't overhear them doing their plans. We get some of the like standard regular flirting between Tobias and Melissa. And, of course, Marco is like pissed because he was like trying to play video games with his mom and everything. So he wasn't like, I don't know. He's always like this. But anyway, so Supreme Leader Jake has called them all together here because Eric gave them some new intel. There is a new Yerk organization plot. They are targeting our troops down in Brazil who are busy exterminating the primitives down there. So the idea is that, the soldiers, they go out and fight for the Empire and they come home a Yerk. And, once again, we get some Cassie bullshit where she's making some remark that makes you think she might be some kind of radical, like, oh, it'd be a shame if we didn't kill all the jungle rats, some sarcastic thing. And Marco's being suspicious of her. Jake's, again, wondering what to do about it, but they have a mission, so they don't have time for it. And wait a second. Whoa. There's some weirdo here in my room. Oh, wait, it's the Drode. What?
Oh,
what?
Oh, no.
What? Wait a second. That's not how the Animorphs are. What?
Holy shit.
So,
oh wow, we all just went through something together.
We sure did. So this is a hell of an opening.
Wow.
What were you thinking when this happened?
All right. Well, okay. I'm excited to talk about this, but I do sort of want to pull back a little bit and talk about the prologue first.
Okay, let's talk. I honestly had very little to say about it.
Well, here's all I just will say is just to really this is very broad thoughts, and it's gonna cover broader themes or lack of themes in this book, but just my expectations of this book from the very beginning, based on the title and the prologue. I'm reading this prologue, and no, you're right. It's not in terms of content, it's not really anything, but it did kind of set the stage in my head thinking, oh, this is going to be a sequel to the Andalite Chronicles, is what I thought. Why else would they need to tell me that this stuff happened and also it's called Elfangor's Secret. So even before, I'm thinking maybe this is another flashback and we're getting another Elfangor story. I'm wondering, reading this title and this opening, boy, I'm excited to find out what is Elfangor's secret. It must be big. This must be a really important Megamorphs book if Elfangor's got another secret to unveil.
Yeah. Oh, and spoilers, his secret was the time matrix.
Yeah, which was about maybe halfway through or 3/4 through, it hit me oh, that his secret is a thing that we already knew about. And I was so disappointed about that.
I fully understand that.
That title is such a fucking bait and switch. That pissed me off.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really not necessary. I do think the prologue is completely unnecessary because it really only introduces the time matrix, and the Drode is about to come and give them an exposition dump. He could literally just say there's a time matrix and tell the audience as well. We don't need it.
Very annoying.
Yeah.
Is this, I couldn't remember, is this the first time the Animorphs learned about the time matrix? They didn't know about any of it?
Yeah, no, they didn't know about it before.
They learned about Elfangor, and did they learn about any of the shit he did? They learned some of it, I thought. Didn't the Ellimist kind of tell them?
Yeah, well, they knew that he was on Earth. They knew that there were some weird Ellimist shenanigans to put him back. And I think they saw in book 26, I think when they were moving through Ellimist space, they saw the strands of space-time that Elfangor moved through or some bullshit like that. I don't know. So maybe they had some idea that there was a weird device. I don't know. But I don't think they really had any idea.
They certainly didn't know it was buried in the construction site, clearly.
Yeah, no.
Because the Ellimist couldn't have mentioned that. That's not important. Okay. All right. Okay. So now, I'm sorry, we covered that. Now we can get into the racist Nazi Animorphs.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we can get into the racist Nazi Animorphs.
My first reaction because the first thing that's really strange is that they mention Melissa.
I think that's true. Because it opens with the Tobias chapter, and he's flying around, and the twist end of chapter drop is Tobias is oh yeah, and the slaves were enjoying their day too. It was so nice, and you're what? But I think they do mention Melissa before that.
Yeah, but before that, he says he talks about wanting to make Melissa happy and wanting her to hold his hand, and I legit thought my copy of the book had a typo, and that was supposed to be Rachel. I was just that clearly is a mistake. I can't believe that they made this mistake. Then I saw the slaves, and then I was okay, what the fuck's happening? This is some kind of a parallel universe, but this is really fucking weird.
Yeah.
Really, really weird. Really going full on Star Trek mirror universe crazy.
Oh, yeah. They're way into it, yeah.
No ramping up. We're just, here we are. They all have slaves and shit.
Yep. They're talking about the triple S, which is obviously just supposed to be the SS. They're like, yeah, that it's yeah. Oh, this Cassie's slave's name is September 12th, by the way,
Huh.
which is I guess when they were born. There's like lore going on for this alternate reality thing.
Yeah, there's a lot. I have questions about it.
It's reasonable.
um as you mentioned, Cassie, even alternate universe Cassie kind of sort of respects her slaves maybe a little. That's like her version of ethics in this world.
Yeah. Yes.
She's like, well, come on, the slaves, you should only whip them 5 times, or not 6 or something. I don't know what her deal is.
Yeah, I think she's all like, well, slaves may be feeble-minded, but they're not as feeble-minded as you think. They can still talk. We better dismiss them before everyone comes around. And Jake's like, I guess that makes sense, but I don't know. And like, you can tell maybe she's got too much respect for him. She doesn't like their wars of genocidal extermination, though she doesn't say it outright, you know. Although I'm pretty sure Jake does say something like, well, you know, with those blacks like Cassie over there, she they can be radicals sometimes. You got to watch them.
I believe he says that about Jews too.
He does also say that about Jews, and this is where we find out. So way back when, you asked me if there were any Jewish Animorphs, and I said I didn't know. And then I remembered this book. I had my attention called to this book, and I was like, right, of course, how the hell could I have forgotten? So we do find out at least Rachel's dad, if not her entire family, is Jewish. Jake's dad, who is Rachel's dad's brother, is Jewish. So Jake is, and I believe Jake is half Jewish here. I think that's explicit here. So we do have Jews in the Animorphs, and Jake spends some time being all like, yeah, you know, I got to watch that radical Jewish blood in myself too. You never know, but you know, my dad's never done anything. He's a certified patriot of empire, so.
Yeah, man, even referring to the blood makes it so much worse. Jewish blood.
I'm pretty sure he uses the phrase Jewish blood.
I don't think I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. Don't worry.
I'm pretty sure my brain didn't come up with that. I hope.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm letting you off. You're okay. You're safe. Blacks and a lot of Jews.
Yeah.
That's a quote from the book. So. Yeah, it's pretty wild. This is pretty wild shit to read. But yes, Rachel's a Jew. Although I guess maybe theoretically we don't. It's in this universe. Maybe in the main universe they're not Jewish. Maybe it's only in this one. No,
again, I will say Jake is the only character who will eventually get his last name revealed, and it is a Jewish last name. So that confirms his dad is Jewish. I'm gonna say.
Do we don't think it's Rachel Bernstein? It just sounds right to me. Okay.
Could be.
Now, so there's a lot of that stuff. They refer to like their troops.
Yeah.
And it's not clear to me what exactly the scenario is in this universe. Are they just at open war with the Yeerks? Like, whose troops are these? Like government troops or Animorphs troops?
So they aren't they're being infiltrated by the Yeerks. They are at open war with the primitives, right?
Oh.
They are openly waging genocidal wars of extermination, the way we are in the real world. But here it's framed as somehow. I mean, it is worse. I could go into my whole we're the same here. We're not really the same, but we are doing that. But like, no, we're sending troops down to South America to, like, literally they say exterminate the primitives or the savages or they literally use the phrase jungle rats at one point. Like, it's very racist. And so the idea is that the Yeerks are infiltrating the army, at some point doing that. And they make a point of saying that the Yeerks are having a much easier time in this reality because of the restriction of information, right? Like there's like, you know, 2 television channels and 1 radio station or something like that, and no internet because all communication is clamped down and controlled by the government. And so, you know, whatever, freedom of information. There's no Go Vikes out there to tell the world, about the Yerks online in the chat rooms.
Yeah, what a shame. Yeah, they don't even have. I don't think they have chat rooms because
yeah,
we find out later, and it's implied here that their technology is way behind. Marco's excited about the new video game Pong.
Yeah.
Which confused me because I was like, is this the 70s then? Go, but it's just that they've stifled technology here.
Mm-hmm.
So they're behind the times.
There's a lot of like alternate history like type things in here because the implication to me is that under oppressive regimes, technology doesn't move forward at the same pace as it would in an open democracy. To me, that's the implication that technological progress is just slower, and there might be some truth to that, but it's not clear to me 100% that cause and effect syncs up, and I'm 100% certain that K.A. Applegate has no real like legitimate argument as to why that is. It throughout a lot of this book, it feels like a lot of the alternate history is like it's what if things were different? Well, then I'll just say whatever I want, and because I made something bad happen, something bad will happen, and I didn't like I don't know that the causal links are really well established.
Yeah, well,
I'll just throw that out right now.
This in particular is not. It doesn't matter that like this isn't something that comes back into play. It's like gets 2 mentions and it's just not important. So
no, this particular thing does not matter. I'm just as like a broader.
Yeah. Well, they don't have the glorious capitalism we have that really drives the innovation.
Yeah. I mean, there is something to be said for if you eliminate all your academics, we had like a big technology boom specifically because so many scientists fled Nazi Germany specifically because they were going to get killed because they were Jews. So like there is something to be said for that, but I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. There's something to be said for that, and I think you said it.
Yeah.
I did. I'm trying to also understand in this universe. So Melissa became an Animorph because Rachel's not around.
Yeah.
So did Melissa just take her place? Is she the Animorph now?
Or... Yeah. Melissa seems to be here as an Animorph. This is something that I kind of wanted to talk. So this is the first time we've like. When was the last time we heard the name Melissa?
Well, let's just say that I don't think they say her last name in this book. We're assuming, at least I am, that it's Melissa Chapman.
I'm assuming that too.
And actually, we did hear Melissa's name. It wasn't that long ago. I remember.
Okay.
It was it might have even been the last book or like 1 or 2 before that. It was not a big reference, but I do remember them saying something about Melissa like being in a class or something. Mm-hmm. But yes, other than that, she does not really matter.
Yeah. To me, this really gave me the sense of like, oh, we put Lyman in as a background gag in the new Garfield movie type thing. You know what I mean? Like he comes in and says hi to John at the door and then leaves or something like this. You know what I mean? And if you're like, oh, that's Lyman. Because like here, she doesn't matter, right? As soon as the Drode shows up and we sort of remember what reality is, Rachel's back and we never hear about Melissa again. She gets like one line. It really feels like she's just here so that K.A. Applegate can be like, if you've read the series, you know who this character is, from way back when, but it doesn't really matter. Come on.
Is she even in the scene? I think, don't they just reference her, or is she actually there?
She's at the barn. She shows up.
Oh, she is.
She has like one character trait, which seems to be that she doesn't understand sarcasm. Marco makes a joke and she's like, what? Really? So I don't know if her character's supposed to be like meek or stupid or nothing.
Yeah,
they don't really do anything with her.
Even if you're a big Animorphs fan at this time, the last time Melissa was important was what, 1.5 years ago?
Yeah.
Like, I bet a lot of kids just didn't even, you just kind of move past that, like, huh? Who's that? This is weird.
I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there were a lot of people who were asking Kay Applegate, like, are we going to ever see Melissa again? Like I think she had like people asking about that.
There you go.
I don't know that this is what you were looking for. If you
gave you what you asked for, you wanted this. The monkey's paw, finger curled. So yeah, that's a lot of that stuff is pretty weird.
It is pretty weird. Can I just say, there's a couple points in here where I read this and I'm like, I wonder if a white woman wrote this. Like,
no kidding.
Okay, so Rachel
Okay.
we find out is in a re-education camp because she's too bold and aggressive for a
Right.
female. You know, women are supposed to be meek, but Cassie is as a black person is just kind of allowed to. Her family just has land and owns slaves, and it's fine. And like people are suspicious, but like there's no real. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like what you know, when I think about the kind of person who's like, I really want to show how oppressed women are by putting them in the education camps for being, but like the black people, I don't know, people are suspicious, but like nothing happened there. Cassie's not like still a slave or anything like that. Like really?
Well,
Like I don't
because
want to
they
play
can't.
oppression Olympics here, but I just when I see this, it makes me feel like maybe you don't appreciate
I
history.
I imagine that the real thing behind this is that she just couldn't write a book where Cassie is a slave. Like either the publisher wouldn't let her or just people would get so upset about that, I think.
That's fair, but like it just feels, I mean, maybe it's not explicit or something though. Like maybe you just go
Yeah.
in there and Cassie's just not there. And you're like, where the hell was she? Oh yeah, you never got whatever. I don't know. It feels off to me. Especially when the only character here who explicitly owns a slave is Cassie. Like, I don't know. It just feels like no real thought went into like what the implications of what you're doing here are.
Well, I don't know if this is really related, but what it makes me think of is how one of the things that always that bugs me about the new Star Wars universe,
Mm-hmm,
the like, I don't know what they call that era, but the new era is that the Empire is very diverse.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like the Empire of Star Wars basically is stand-in for Nazis, but oh yeah, we have some women Nazis, we have black and Asian Nazis. We don't discriminate against a race or gender. We discriminate against like other people who aren't in the Empire because we're just bad guys. But it's like
Yeah, no, the Empire is not well defined in their discrimination. You could do something there with the idea of
the
like,
New Order, I suppose I should say. First Order, sorry.
yeah, but even the old Empire, like it's clearly supposed to be like a fascist,
Right.
whatever, and
Well,
like that goes hand in hand with the race. You could do some kind of human supremacy thing, like you don't. The
sure.
Rebel
But they have
Alliance you always
aliens
see are
too
full of aliens. Yeah, they do have aliens
in
too,
the
and
new
it's never
ones.
really all that explicit. But
To be the truth is in the original it's they weren't going to cast any non-white people.
yeah,
They had one black guy in all three movies anyway. But they're all like white and British too. They all have like stuffy accents. They're all
mhm,
clearly supposed to be like kind of sophisticated old British men,
yeah,
which I think works. And then it's this thing where the creators are like, well, we need to we want to cast diverse people and stuff. So it just kind of
yeah.
muddies the whole idea of
Yeah.
what evil people are.
And to be 100% fair, it really is only in the new trilogy that they're explicitly Nazis. Like in the original trilogy, they're much more explicitly supposed to be the United States, which like
Mm.
is somewhat diverse in its bigotry.
Well, I think it's like in this right here. It's the United States
Mhm.
as Nazis. It's a little bit. You got a little bit of both.
I think the Empire is just supposed to be the United States, but
You
this is
think
the
they
United
are in the
States as
first? Well, I mean,
Nazis.
I guess there's like the Vietnam shit,
Yeah, it's
but there's
explicitly
definitely some.
word of God.
There's.
George Lucas said.
I feel like there's definitely some like the way they act and
That's
dress and stuff is pretty clearly
yeah,
inspired.
that's fair. That's fair.
And okay, this is not a Star Wars podcast,
I know. Wait, yeah, we don't have time for Star Wars. We got a whole Megamorphs to get through here.
but I see what you're saying. But anyway, this was probably my favorite chapters of the book.
Yeah, I mean, these are by far the most interesting chapters. They're good. So the Drode shows up, as I said,
Mhm.
and I don't know, he like snaps his fingers or something or whatever, and suddenly everything is like normal to the Animorphs, right? Like the Rachel's back, and all the Animorphs remember who they are, and they're like, "What the heck? I'm not a Nazi." And we find out that yes, it is. Of course, it's Time Matrix shenanigans. Um, so the Drode explains to them that the former Visser 4, leader of the failed Lyra invasion, if you remember that from book 18,
I don't. Go ahead.
He got demoted. And is he still Visser 21? Why is that not in my notes?
No, Visser 21 was just something that Efloom made up.
Are you sure that Efloom wasn't specifically saying that for this book? Anyway.
No, that was from his first email too. That's part of his lore.
Okay.
Try to keep up.
Anyway, he got demoted and he found the time matrix, I guess. And so now the former Visser 4 he's going back in time. He's rewriting the past to try to make it easier to get a Yeerk victory and give himself more power in the present. So the Animorphs are all back the way they should be, but the world is still all fucked up, right? And the Drode says he's going to give them a chance to fix it because neither the Ellimist nor Krayak want a random dude running around with the time matrix and fucking up space-time, right? Like, it's not actually good for either of them for this to be happening. So the Drode says basically he's going to, like, cover them in time juice, effectively, so that he has a different explanation, but basically what he says is that he's going to coat them in some time juice. And so they're going to follow the time matrix around and be unaffected by the changes to history, right? Like, they'll jump to wherever Visser 4 is, and whatever he does won't affect them. But they can stop him. But in exchange, Krayak wants a life, right? So one of them will have to die. They have like 2 minutes to decide, and Marco tries to stall because, he realizes it's definitely Jake who's going to get, Krayak's going to take. And, Cassie's like, oh, yeah, I know, but we can't give up the whole world. And anyway, of course they decide to do it, right?
Of course, they have.
Of course, they have to.
So I'm excited that the Drode's back. I'm a big Drode head.
Not me. I'm not a Drode head.
I'm a toad for the Drode, baby. What can I say? I'm ready to goad that Drode. I think the Drode's got a chode. The Drode, all abode.
Oh, that one I like.
Yeah, keep doing it long enough. One of them's going to be good.
Yeah, you might. Maybe you'll convince me yet.
See,
rhetoric like that. Yeah, I mean, like, there's listen. When the Drode is here, it's. I think what I don't like about the Drode is that, like, it feels like he like oversimplifies the characters while adding nothing, right? Like, he's always taunting them by just like laying out their theme in front of them. Like an exact, he has an exact quote here. He says, "Oh yes, there is something else, little Cassie. Cassie, the killer with a conscience. Kill him, then cry over him. That's our Cassie." And it's like, thanks for that. I didn't, fuck off.
I liked it. I like that. I've talked about this before. I said the same thing with David.
It never matters that he said that. Like, he doesn't add anything with that shit.
I mean, I'm sure you're probably right. But you know what? Honestly, maybe part of it is sort of reassuring to me because sometimes some of these themes, I don't really know if they're intentional or if Kay Applegate doesn't realize they're happening. So it's kind of like, okay, she actually does know what the character of Cassie is and can actually criticize her. I don't know. I mean, look, you're right. It's the Drode like doesn't actually done shit.
Yeah.
But I like the concept of I like when villains like actually have valid critiques of the good guys. So I don't know. I don't know.
I can see that, especially since sometimes it does feel like she's introducing themes and then like, and I do think it's intentional when she does it, and then like doesn't really follow through, and it's not really clear what's supposed to be important.
Yeah, it's like, so at least the Drode is paying attention. He's keeping an eye on things. I do think he's David reincarnated. Now, what I don't like about the Drode showing up here is, after reading that insane intro we discussed, where they're all weird Nazis. I was excited to be like, wow, what is happening? There's everything they bring up. Every little detail of the world is so strange and frightening and upsetting. I can't wait to explore more of this. And they bail on it so fast and go, they're all just Animorphs again. And we never, like a little bit kind of, we come back to this sort of era, but but not really. And this was the part I thought was the most interesting part, and that was it. I could have read a whole book of this.
Yeah, no, the rest of the book is just going to be them bouncing between different historical like time periods, and I'll like talk about that when we get there. But it does get a little samey in a sense, even though they're all different time periods, and yeah, like none of the actual historical events are nearly as interesting, because it's like, hey, remember this from history? The Animorphs are here doing something, but we had this whole cool neat world at the beginning. I do agree with you on that. That is by far the most interesting part.
They started the book off like, here's a hot chili pepper, baby, and then the rest of the book is like, we got a baked potato, no toppings. Do you like that metaphor? Was that good?
That was really good, yeah.
Also, I mean, look, we know none of these kids is dying. We know they're not going to die. So I just can't, this whole thing of, I must take a life just has no, especially not in a Megamorphs book. I know it's not going to happen here.
Yeah. And when I was a kid, I did not believe, like when I was a kid, I was like, yep, nobody's dying. Like at no point, like it was just absolutely convinced, when reading it, I was like, somebody might even die, right? But they're not going to be dead like forever. Like it's just not happening. It's not like if this was if the series was ending, maybe like if somebody dies in like the Elfangor Chronicles, right? That's very different than if somebody dies in the fucking middle of the series. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
there's just no fucking way.
At the time, you didn't know that if this was the middle, because right, you didn't know how long this was go.
You sort of did because when I say the Elfangor Chronicles, because when we got to the Elfangor Chronicles, everybody reading knew we were near the end of the series. Like everybody knew she was wrapping it up, and we weren't going to get that many books. But when this book came out, nobody had any idea how many more books. So you kind of know like it's going on for a while. Right?
Yeah.
Like you don't necessarily know how in the middle you are, but you know you're not at the end, because if you were, there would be some sense that you were wrapping up.
All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't know. Now, I will say when I first read this, Marco and Cassie are very convinced at the beginning here that it's Jake who is going to die. And when I first read this as a small kid, I remember thinking, I don't know that it is. I could easily see like a little bait and switch here. Maybe somebody else is going to die, and then that'll have to get whatever comic books undone or whatever. I didn't know. I wasn't sure. So that was what I remember. What I was kind of like interested to see. That was
what
the
they
twist
could have done. They could have kept Melissa around or something, and then killed her. Like that would be a good like.
That would have been too obvious, though. Like everybody would have known. It's like, I wonder who's gonna die.
Yeah, but I still would have preferred. I feel like that. Like I would be okay with that. It's like here's a character that doesn't really matter, but at least she did have a book. She has significance. She matters to Chapman, even though he's not important lately. Like, at least that would have been something that changed the status quo instead of nothing.
Yeah, and like there is something to be like, you can still do something with the idea of like, you have a character and they don't matter, so of course they're going to be the one to die, because you could put that on the Animorphs, right? And you could say, like, well, it could have been Jake who died, but you chose to have it be Melissa, so that's on you, and you have to live with that. That you could do something with that.
Yeah, for sure. But that's whatever.
I do want to commend them for their proper pluralization of matrix. They do say time matrices in here. The Drode says we don't want people messing around with time matrices or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, none of this makes sense.
No.
Like, the Drode loaded up a save state of the Animorphs' memories. Like how?
It's time juice.
And so now they can travel through time, and even though everything else is being changed, they're the same. Whatever. The Elfangor is all powerful. He could just do that. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is one of these things. The time matrix is too much of a thing to like trust a fiction writer with, right? Like, because like you had like the Sario rip in Megamorphs 2, where you have the more classic time travel story of like it has to happen that way because it already happened that way, right? The dinosaurs have to die, the Mercora can't spread because there are no Mercora and the dinosaurs died. But here it's just like, History doesn't have to happen the way it happened because the time matrix is here. And does that have to make any sense? No, because the time matrix is here. Is it an alternate universe? Not really, because the time matrix is here. It just does whatever the fuck. You can just say it does whatever. Who cares? It ruins everything.
Yeah, and it'll ruin things more later. We'll talk about just the fact that it exists. If you thought there were already no stakes because you don't think anyone's going to die, there's no stakes ever because as you said, the time matrix can just do anything. So it's like I never cared. Like, oh no, they're changing history. All you got to do is just fucking touch the thing, and you can do whatever you want. It's literally like infinite power.
Yeah. And Visser 4 is clearly incompetent. This is clearly why he lost Lyra, because he could have just touched the time matrix and made the Yeerks win and made himself Visser 1, but he didn't. Instead, he was like, time matrix, take me back in time, and I'll go change the past, and the butterfly effect will make the future easier for the Yeerks to conquer. Like, what were you doing, dude? You can do anything.
Yeah, he puts in so much effort. When we saw in Andalite Chronicles, you can just create a world, whole cloth.
Yeah.
You don't need to do shit.
The Yeerks are now governed by the Council of One, and it's just him. There's no other 13.
You need to have a certain level of intellect to know how to use it properly.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, like, how did he find this? Like, what was he doing? Was he just digging around in the construction site for no reason? Did he, like, see an energy signature? This is another question. They saw energy signatures coming from the Skritna ship in the Andalite Chronicles. Nobody saw that coming from the construction. Visser 3 at no point scanned the construction site where Elfangor died to see if there was anything weird going on there. Like, that just didn't happen.
Nope. That never happened. It's been sitting there. Also, this construction site is still undergoing construction for a year or whatever. Like, nothing's...
that happens. Literally, there's a highway near me that was under construction for 15 years, and it was like the main mode of transportation. Like, you had one lane. Like, it happens, man. Maybe this is in Pennsylvania.
I guess. This was another thing I forgot to say before. So Elfangor gave the Animorphs morphing powers, but he was cool with them being Nazis. Like, I guess he was like, yeah, these kids seem good. Like, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Because that had to happen still.
Was Lauren a Nazi when he met her? Did he just I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, and as an Andalite, maybe he was, he's like, oh, that's kind of how we are, so it's fine.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, he was on Earth too. So when he was on Earth, were they already Nazis?
Elfangor was a Nazi. Yeah, 100%.
I guess he was. Alan Fangor was an SSS member. Anyway, that was from before. But should we talk about Visser 4? Or should I save that to the end?
I mean, what did you want to say about him here?
I guess, as usual, if this still can count as front loading, I'm going to mid load this thing.
Sure, yeah, it happens.
This is more of an overall thought, like, that carries through the whole book, but
I think we're actually ahead of time in terms of how many chapters we've gotten through, so you can talk all you want.
Great. Visser 4, I feel strongly that it should have been Visser 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do not give a shit about Visser 4.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing about Visser 4. Every time they're in a timeline looking for him, trying to get him, telling me where he is, I don't care. I can barely picture what he looks like. I'm not interested in this guy. You have Visser 3, who is the recurring villain. Just let it be Visser 3, and then it's exciting. It's like, oh wow, what's going to happen? Visser 3 is doing all this shit. Is he going to find out they're Animorphs, and how are they going to deal with this? What's he going to do with the time matrix? That's exciting. I don't know. I guess the idea is that you want to flesh out the world and be like, yeah, there's not just one Visser. All these Vissers are doing shit, but he's never appeared before. To make the subject of your book the main antagonist, a guy who has never done anything before and also doesn't even have dialogue in this book until like the last chapter. Like, it's just so dull.
Yeah. From the opposite standpoint, the the Lyra invasion was a complete disaster for the Yeerks, and it was a really interesting storyline. I really like that storyline. I loved the disaster on Lyra, and the idea of a high-ranking Yeerk who was in charge of that. And everything was going great, and it should have gone well. And if the Animorphs hadn't fucking snapped through Z space, it would have been fine. And so, just like out of nowhere, everything goes wrong, and his whole like power structure comes crumbling down. He's demoted. He's a nobody. I think this is an interesting character as an idea, but you do have to write a character to go with the idea. And I don't think the book actually did that, which is too bad because like there is something to the idea of this guy. Maybe if he didn't have to support a weird time travel Megamorph story, maybe if he were like a one-off book antagonist for book 30 or something, it could have been cool.
And that's why I'm saying, like, if it was Visser 3, then you don't have to change anything. You don't have to write stuff for Visser 3 because we already have an existing connection with him.
Yeah.
And so that's your shortcut. But you can't have a new guy and not give him anything to work with. That's the problem.
Yeah, like at the very least, you could spend less time being like, hey, look, I'm in another historical situation, and more time being like, let's have him do stuff.
Something to make him differentiate himself from any other Dick Yeerk guy. He's just bad guy. That's all. That's it.
Yeah. No, that is his character, is bad guy.
And now you're gonna have to refresh my memory. Does he actually appear in the Lyran book, or do they just mention him? Because I truly don't remember.
I don't think they mention him until this book. I'm pretty sure in this book, the Drode says he was in charge of the failed Lyran invasion.
Okay, got it. Okay. All right. So anyway, just not. I don't care about Visser 4.
Yeah. No, that's I feel you. No one gives a shit about Visser 4. And I guess his host is named John Berryman. If that comes, I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
But is that he's an actor, right? They say he's an actor. Is that Is this John Goodman and Drew Barrymore, or what is that? Is that supposed to be like a parody name or something?
Interesting.
I
didn't
know.
think of that. I mean, it's the wrong like Barry. It's got an E instead of an A, but you've got a point.
It's too. I mean, I don't know. It's another stupid KA name, but it seems like the fact that he's an actor made me think. I wonder if that's a parody of somebody, but I don't know. Not like it matters. Not like they act like any actor or anything.
Yeah, parody is too strong of a word.
Yeah, much too strong. Parody implies content and substance of some kind.
Yeah. All right. So they decide to help the Drode, right? And they, as is usual with these kinds of Ellimist shenanigan things, they like immediately get teleported as soon as they decide. So they're immediately teleported back in time, and they are talking to a knight. And it's like Cassie and Rachel on their own. They're surrounded by these French knights that think they might be witches. And of course, not being able to talk very well, Rachel decides what she should do is to turn into an elephant and attack them. And Cassie has to turn into a wolf and join her because there's a fight now. Anyway, they chase off the knights, and all the others show up. Jake is pissed off because he's like, well, we all just kind of snuck around, and we didn't turn into an elephant and start killing people. Anyway, they scout around to figure out where the hell they are. They are in between two massive armies, and the battle is about to start. They find out later it's the Battle of Agincourt. Is that how you pronounce that?
Sure.
But they're in 1415, 30 years war, whatever, 100 years war? Which wars? God, Jesus Christ, why can I not remember my wars? Whatever.
You think I know? I don't even know what war's going on now.
I should know this fucking shit. Whatever. My brain doesn't work anymore. It's 1415, and they have to stop Visser 4 from changing history here, which is a problem because they don't know anything about this battle or what the outcome is supposed to be. But they realize they can find him by looking for someone like clean and without smallpox scars. And they find him, but before they can do anything, the fighting starts, and there's the big battle. So before we talk about this battle,
yeah,
they're in 1415.
They're in 1415. So this was my here's my second disappointment of the book. My first thought when this happened, we just start with who is it? Rachel and Tobias are fighting the knights.
Rachel and Cassie.
And I thought, oh, this is cool. They sent each Animorph or pair of Animorphs to different time periods.
Yeah, that is cool. And we're gonna
cut back and forth, and each one is gonna have to solve something in a different era of history.
Yeah, or like you intercut the chapters and history changes for the people in the next chapter after the last. That's a cool idea.
I mean, if you wanted to get real crazy with it, you could do a thing like Day of the Tentacle or Bill and Ted or Frequency where you where like one of them could leave some, well, they're all probably would be in different locations, but like they could be like, oh, if we change this, then maybe the other Animorph in this timeline will be helped by it or something. I don't know. That's a little too crazy, but
that is not that crazy for this series.
Sure. It would just take some logistical like figuring out where they are and stuff, but
it's cool though.
But they're all there. They're all together. We just do one at a time, which I think is very boring.
Yeah. Like what if the time matrix juice could let them thought speak across time so they could still talk to each other so they like knew where they were and they could like put stuff. Yeah, it's cool.
They'd have to figure out like, wait a minute, you're not seeing castles? No, I'm seeing huts. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's not what they did. I the whole medieval time period. Look, it can be. There's exceptions to this, but generally speaking, medieval battles is not my personal thing that I'm excited to read.
Yeah, and the medieval part of this book, because there's going to be a whole medieval battle section with a lot of shit that happens in it after this. The medieval section doesn't end until we're like at least a third of the way, if not more, through the book. It takes up by far more time than any other time period. And there's something to be said with that for the pacing. Like the first time they go, you spend more time there because, you know, you got to get people used to the idea and then you can spend less time in the other time periods. But it does feel very unbalanced. And yeah, it gets kind of boring just being like, okay, yep, there's knights. They're gross and dirty. Yep.
I mean, this is a theme that will recur, I think, in this book. That is, so much of this book is action, and it's just big fight scenes, and they're chaotic because there's like 100 people, and the Animorphs don't know where they are, and they're getting trampled and confused, and it does not. I did not find it compelling, hardly at all. Unfortunately,
yeah, I have a little more to say about that later, but I guess I could. Yeah, I'll talk about it when we actually do a fight scene. But like, yeah, 100%.
This is kind of a fight scene, but yeah,
we're about to get there. Yeah,
I did like that Jake yells at Rachel because I felt very vindicated. Because it pisses me off when the obvious answer is just turn into flies and get out of there. And she does an elephant. And I was very happy that Jake was like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah. Well, listen, Rachel is not the kind to turn into a fly. That's just not what she does.
I'm sick of her shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Rachel's over there like, this is my boomstick. That's Rachel in this book.
Yeah. Sure, that's a reference.
Yeah, it's a good
Sam Raimi also produced Xena Warrior Princess.
Oh, shit. Now, speaking of references, I did like, listen, I love the fucking joke, and I've said it in this podcast before, but I love the fucking joke in Monty Python's Holy Grail, where they're like, he must be a king. How do you know? He hasn't got shit all over him. Love that joke. And I love that joke here, too, where they're legit like, how are we going to find the guy from the present? Oh, it's the guy who's not covered in shit.
Yeah, you are kind of an Anglophile in that way. You do love that kind of thing.
That's true. That's true. I do love that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's pretty gross, the descriptions of people, and that's sort of a smart device, I guess. It's fine.
Yeah, it is. It gets a little overdone, but yeah.
Yeah, this part of the book, it really feels like this is a Carmen Sandiego game. Like where it's almost feels like it's meant to be a little educational about history.
Yeah, I feel that.
I think I would like this better if it was a 90s like PC like pseudo educational kids game where it was like help the Animorphs through different time periods or something, and you had to like answer history questions to get them through battles.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is that the book's not actually particularly educational about any of the stuff. Like, you don't find out much about it.
Listen, I learned a lot.
If it was a video game, it could have been. Now, you speak French, right, John?
Oui.
Yeah,
je parle français.
You may have been able to understand some of what these French knights were saying.
Oh, yeah, I think I picked up on most of it.
Okay. I think I picked up on most of it, too, even when I was a kid, because they make sure that they only... It's always, like, partially English, unless it's all cognates.
Well, it's it's sort of, if you're a fluent French speaker, there are some nuances you pick up on.
Yeah.
Like the tonality and the things like that.
When he's like, I do not parler avec witches.
Right. I sort of know about the context of how the French feel about witches.
Right.
That's something you don't necessarily get from just a cursory understanding of the language.
Yeah. I also have a note in here that says schwoof. I don't know what that's referring to.
They must have said that at some point.
Yeah, that must be a sound effect that happens. Maybe it's a sword being drawn.
Yeah, sure. They do make that sound.
Anyway, like, there's a battle, right? There's like they're all as birds. There's like a wall of arrows coming at them. Some of them dodge it. Some of them like get hit in the wing and go down. There's like a really gruesome scene with like the French warriors are getting hit by arrows and people are dying and horses are screaming and arrows are sticking out of their limbs. There's like an infantry clash. The fighting starts and Marco and Rachel and Cassie are like wounded and trapped on the ground. While meanwhile, the others are seeing that Visser 4 is trying to kill Henry V, but he sucks. He's not a good archer, so he's not doing a good job at it. There's like a scene where Tobias snatches one of his arrows out of the air. But at any rate, Visser 4 realizes that these must be the Andalites because he sees the animals being weird and he runs for it. And to make a distraction, Tobias morphs into a Hork-Bajir and Jake morphs into a Warhorse, and they pretend to be the devil so Cassie and company can escape. Axe chases Visser 4 to a church while a horde of like pitchforked villagers are chasing down the devil, and there's like a big confrontation in the church bell tower. They all come together and Visser 4 uses the time matrix and they all jump to a different time. and it's just like that was a lot of stuff because it was a lot of chapters, and it's just like one thing after another thing after another thing. As you said, most of this book is action from this point forward.
Yeah, it's just a long stretch of battle scenes that I just did not find that engaging. I hardly took note of anything that happened in this section because they just fight knights and shit. It's not particularly well written action. I did find it kind of strange. Tobias has this running thing in this section of being like, you guys, don't stop worrying about the stupid mission. We gotta save everybody or something. And I was like, I don't understand what his deal is. Isn't the mission kind of important? It's like, if you solve the mission, don't you save everyone? I don't know what his angle was exactly.
Yeah, I'm not 100%. I guess because he cares about his friends.
Right.
And they can fix it later or something.
Jake, as the leader, should have been like getting him in line. Like, Tobias, shut the fuck up and do what I say.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't help that there's no clear stakes to this, right? Like, okay, I did write 100 Years' War, so I guess this is the 100 Years' War. Yeah, because 30 years is later, right? Okay, anyway,
right.
But sure, anyway, but it's like the Animorphs have no idea what the stakes are here. The average reader doesn't really know what the stakes are here. As a kid, as an American kid, I have no fucking idea what the stakes are here. Like, what happens if King Henry V dies in 1415 in the 100 Years' War? right? Do I have any idea whatsoever what that means? No. Maybe if I were a British kid, I might have some idea, but like, do you even then? That was 600 years ago, right? Nobody has it. Like, what does it
Yeah.
mean if this happens? Nobody has any clue. And worst of all, the Animorphs have no fucking clue. So it's like, it's literally just he's trying to kill a guy, and there's a bunch of fighting, and we're just going to do 6 straight chapters of fighting over who knows? I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's very the book does like it's all very gruesome and it's all very like over the top. You know, it's like they don't. It's not just like they fight. It's very typical Animorphs. Like, you know, people are screaming, they're dying, their limbs are getting hacked off. There's blood everywhere. It was horrible. It was hell. It was traumatic, and you know, it is very hard hitting at first, but like spoilers, every time period is going to be this, right? They're going to go to a different time period and it's going to be like, and then war erupts and it was horrible. Only this time people were getting hit with cannons instead of arrows and their limbs were being blown off and they were screaming and da 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 da. And it doesn't really feel like it coheres into any kind of larger point other than just like war is hell and war has always been hell, which is fine, but it's a little shallow. Like, you know, like I don't know, like you didn't need to spend that much time hammering this point, and you could have just done it once and been done with it.
Yeah, or you could have at least just made the action interesting. It's just very boring. There's nothing. They don't really do much with, like, this should be exciting because this is a larger scale battle technically than has ever. Well, maybe outside of like the Lyran book or something. I don't know. There were more armies and stuff in those, or in the Chronicles books, but typically the Animorphs are fighting like a dozen guys. They're not in the middle of an actual historical war, but they don't really do anything with that idea. It's not like the fact that they're animals is interesting, or people don't really seem to care that much that there's animals there. Like, no one really notices. Yeah. They do this thing with the Hork-Bajir where they're like, look, it's like a devil, which I don't know that Hork-Bajir are that devilish. I'd say they're demonic at best. But they've got like a Hork-Bajir with a pitchfork.
Yeah, on a horse. I mean, I like that idea. I think that's a really fun idea that he like rides into battle and I liked the fact that they were like everyone was cowering, but then as soon as he left, they just go back to fighting because I guess seeing the devil is just kind of normal in this time period. People are like, "Oh, it's the devil." It's just a thing that happens.
Right.
I do like the idea of him getting chased by an angry mob, but it's in the middle of so much other stuff that it just kind of is like, yep, that's another thing that's happening.
And going back to what we were saying before, Visser Ford's going through all this elaborate historical meddling. Forget about the power of the time matrix. Just bring a gun with you and shoot Henry V. Like, why is all this like, I need to be in this point at this point in time with this bow and arrow, and I must, it's like, what do you can just like tell the thing to take you to when he's asleep and just club him or something.
That's
like,
true. And you've got Dragon beams and stuff. Like that is true. It feels like he's trying to do it without letting anybody in history know that something out of the ordinary is happening. You know, it's like he's got to get randomly killed by a stray arrow and no one knows how it happened. You know, he doesn't. Just shoot him with a fucking ray gun. Yeah, the devil ran through this. It was fine.
Yeah, it's pretty. They kind of, we sort of learn later that it sounds like they don't. I don't know if someone's just not writing down the fact that animals were in part of these battles or something. Like, doesn't get recorded in the history books. I don't know I don't know what the significance of that is, but I don't know. It seemed relevant.
I could see that being lost to history for like maybe this kind of battle, especially since they didn't do much here except get hit by a bunch of arrows. Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, this is just the first of more.
This is just the first of many, but it is the longest of many. All right, so next they jump to the Revolutionary War. So at least this is one that, as an American child, I know what the stakes are here, right? Oh yeah, I know who George Washington is, and he's crossing the Delaware. I know that, you know, as an 8-year-old American. Again, I don't know how this translates if you're fucking, I don't know, Hungarian. Do you know what this is? Who knows? But anyway,
yeah, I am familiar with the American history.
Is that a Hungarian accent?
Yeah, it was Hungarian.
Yeah, okay, good. Is that Mr. Joseph Hungary? Is that character?
Don't say that, it makes me angry.
All right, so yeah, Marco like dresses up in soldier garb while Jake stays as a warhorse. There's like a funny scene where he's talking to Jake and the other soldiers all think he's crazy. But all right, so obviously Visser is going to try to kill George Washington. So they gotta protect George Washington here. But they don't do that. It turns out Visser just like warned the Hessian mercenaries that they're trying to sneak past in the crossing of the Delaware. He just told them they were there, and so they all open fire on everyone, and everybody starts dying. But in the middle of all of this chaos where people are getting torn apart by muskets, Jake gets shot in the head and he dies. And it's like pretty graphic. Like I think they say like the back of his head is missing at some point. Like there's like a scene where Cassie's like a dolphin in the river trying to like push his dead body to shore. Everyone's panicking. Rachel immediately takes charge and is like, Axe, go kill all those Hessians. And he's like, I don't know if I should do that. And then they get zapped again to a different timeline or a different time. So, we get some Revolutionary War stuff. This one is more interesting to me than the night time.
I guess it is a little more interesting. However, I'm still, in terms of the action, the only thing that's like less thrilling to me than medieval combat is Revolutionary War combat. Just like muskets and shit. It's just very boring and slow.
I mean, it's not supposed to be thrilling. It's supposed to be like, because she spends a lot of time on like how cold and wet and miserable everyone is, and like, the horror of seeing someone's head explode right next to you, and time being like, the painting where he's like this big grand hero. No, that painting's a lie. It is supposed to make you feel miserable and be oppressive, but again, we just did that. So,
yeah, Marco gets a couple good jokes in when he talks about Washington, and someone says, "No, wait, George Washington." Oh, yeah. He says, "No, Guido Washington."
Yeah, that's a good joke.
And they also say, "Why is he crossing the Delaware to get to the other side and see the chicken?"
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, can I just say,
you can.
This places them, right? Like the Animorphs, like they are not from the East Coast. And I know that because literally somebody says, I've heard of Washington crossing the Delaware, but I don't know what it means. If you grew up near where any of these things happened, then the only thing you ever learned in a history class from grade 1 through 6 was the same lesson over and over again about the Revolutionary War period that happened right next to where you grew up. Maybe you learned about the Civil War.
I didn't think about that. But like, yeah.
Like, I'm sure, because you're a New Jersey guy, you must have had like just a million, because like by the time that I read this book as a child, I already knew what a Hessian soldier was. Like, I knew about that because I'd learned about it like 4 fucking times already.
Yeah, I don't know. I was not a good student or smart, and I still am not a good student of history. So I don't know as much as you. I'm not a book learned man. But I did just kind of, I don't know. It didn't occur to me. I'm just like, yeah, he crossed the Delaware. Like, of course that's a thing. But but I don't know that I.
Yeah, but that was you probably would have known that as like you wouldn't be sitting here as a 14-year-old like I don't really know what that means because I don't know. Like they don't let you not learn that over here.
Yeah, that's probably true. I think that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it.
Good so stuff. You're more like these soldiers here. They've got some good dialogue, these soldiers here.
Yeah, what do they say?
They say like where'd that dang horse come from? Oh, don't reckon I know, Tom. It's Sergeant, you clodhopper. How many times I gotta tell you that? He must belong to one of the officers. He's a beauty, he is.
You sounded like Goofy. Max!
Thank you. Max!
Yeah. Yeah, that's Goofy right there. That's pretty good. Was that a
like
yuck?
That. It was a yuck.
Oh, I thought you were just dying.
Yeah, well, sometimes I yuck when I die. Now, you know, as horrifying as this Jake scene is, or as she tries to make it, where it's like, oh yeah, his body, oh yeah, his head. My reaction to this as a kid was, oh, I guess it was Jake who's gonna die. I was expecting some kind of twist. Like, at no point did I think that any of this was gonna stick or be real.
I think it did hit me a little bit. I do think it was sort of like the shocking nature of it being a gunshot to the head, and the fact that I guess I expected it to happen late in the book, not at the midpoint. So
that's reasonable, yeah.
But then I did think we literally just had, and we keep talking about how they do this each character falling one at a time thing, and I think I thought that that's what we were doing, is that we were going to like lose one each time. Well, doesn't that happen? Well, another one of them.
Yeah, that is going to start happening. And that is kind of presented as a twist. Cause you're expecting it to just be Jake to start.
Right. And again, it's just like, we've done this. It's not, it can't be effective anymore. I've seen it too many times. And this was also the point in my notes where I wrote, how many time periods are we going to do here? Cause this is already repetitive.
Yeah. Yeah. Even on number 2. You know, I was wondering, you know, if the Drode hadn't said anything, right? Like, can you imagine if you were reading this and he hadn't said that they needed a life and they're going here and just out of nowhere, Jake is fucking dead halfway through the book, right? That would have been, I would have been shocked.
Yeah. Or he could have at least said just like, you'll have to pay a price, but not what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That probably would be a lot better.
Could have been better for sure.
Oh, well.
I do think so. One kind of criticism I have of this book in terms of like
the historical
thing. I do. I have a couple. But so from this point onward, at the beginning, we don't really know what the fuck he's doing in medieval times. But from this point onward, it seems like he's much more obviously Visifor's trying to like hurt modern day democracy, right? Like, we got to kill George Washington. You know, they're going to do stuff in World War II, spoilers from the opening picture. But it feels like he's trying to stop that. And it feels like there's this sense throughout of like America as this uniquely good actor in a way that kind of rubs me the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's literally like pages and pages here of the kids like worshiping Washington effectively. You know what I mean? And that kind of makes sense for Jake, but I just don't know.
I had a similar feeling to you about the next section of the book, or actually to another section from now, I guess. I don't know. Can we skip the next one? We'll go get to that. I don't care about the next one. But,
the next one's short. There's just a couple of things we'll go over.
Not as much here, but I'm a little more sympathetic to this part. I'm like, I kind of get it where it's like, I don't know. I could believe like if you actually saw George Washington, you'd kind of be like, oh shit, it's fucking George Washington.
Yeah.
I sort of get that.
Yeah, but like there are things like we know, for example, that slavery is going to come back, and you know, I don't know how I feel about the idea of saying like, well, if you didn't have the United States, you'd still have slavery. Slavery was abolished in Britain before it was in the United States. Yeah. The Revolutionary War was partially fought for genocidal reasons. Like a large part of it was us being like, we want to go genocide some Native Americans, and Britain was like, we just sent you a lot of troops to go fight that war and then signed a treaty and you want to immediately violate it. No, we're not going to do that. And we're going to tax you to pay for all those troops we sent you. And we were like, no, we don't want to pay for all the troops you sent us to help go fight an expansionist war. And in fact, we're going to violate all those treaties and keep doing it. And it's like literally like at what point here is shutting that down making slavery stay longer I'm not sure. It's not clear to me that it wouldn't be worse on the whole, because there are some ways in which American democracy, maybe could have helped kick off the wave of democracies across Europe and blah blah blah. I don't know, whatever historical revisionism. But it does feel like there's too much, just like, without America you wouldn't have the good things, when in reality that's not necessarily true. Things might have been better without us.
Yeah, both in the text and the subtext of this book.
Yeah,
I agree. There is kind of some weird revisionist history going on.
Yeah.
America solved all the world's race problems. If you just let America come on in, everything's fine.
I don't know. Yeah, and I just don't know about that.
Yes, I agree. That's there. It's weird.
Yeah, so
it was the 90s, baby.
Yeah,
Bill Clinton was the president, man.
And it's fine. Could happen. It's the sort of thing that's like, it's very expected to see. Like, this is not like a unique criticism or like something that's like particularly bad. This is the sort of thing that you would see normally in most children's media, especially from this time, especially from America. It's just that I feel like maybe I have higher expectations of Animorphs in terms of like understanding that, a lot of things that we take for granted about the war and our place are not necessarily true.
What are you, not a patriot? You fucking piece of shit. I'll kick your ass.
You're right. No, you're right.
If you don't like this country, then why don't you just leave? Bitch.
Like a tree.
Yeah. Ooh, what kind of bark does it have? Sorry, you're making me hungry. Would it be fun if Dakami was in this book or something? I don't know.
It would be. Oh, man. It would be really fun.
Time Matrix made him appear.
Yeah, God. That would really break up the monotony of all these parts here. So next they're in Trafalgar. They end up on they're on a boat. It's English warship, early 1800s. They don't really say what war it is, so if you're a kid, you're also sitting here like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing on this boat, but it's a Napoleonic War thing.
Yeah. Was it in the movie?
I feel like it was, but yeah, believe it or not, it didn't have as much focus as the much more important battles that she doesn't focus on, like shit that happened in Russia or like Waterloo. I don't know why she chose this one. I don't know. Anyway, before anything even happens, immediately we're in a chase scene. Like in these other ones, we spend some time like sitting around with Washington's troops or with the knights. And here it's just, we show up in a boat and it's like, there's Visser 4, go get him. Marco's the gorilla. This time there's like another big battle, and this time there's cannonballs flying and the ships are blowing apart and it's loud. There's like a scene where Visser 4 tries to escape them by climbing up the rigging, and in like an absolutely bizarre move, Marco has to switch morphs because, to quote the book, gorillas are not fast tree climbers. Which, I didn't look this up, but that can't be true. Like, it just can't be, right?
Maybe they're more not like a chimp. They're more suited to like running through the jungle, and they're like, because they're so big, they kind of are slow. I don't know.
They're certainly more suited to being on the ground than a chimp.
I don't know.
But like, than a human? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. He and Rachel do turn into chimps and chase him around on the ship's rigging. And partway through the chase, Rachel gets blown in half from stray fire, and she also dies. So this is like the big part. You're like, wait, shit, more than just one of them can die? Holy shit. Yeah. And I guess Visser 4 succeeds in blowing up the boat, and they actually jump a bunch of times. He's like trying to lose them. But so a little bit of things on the boat here. Rachel death thing is actually a little shocking, mostly because you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
There's a scene where some 13-year-old kid on the boat sees Rachel, and he's all like, "Milady." It's pretty good. To quote some random lieutenant, he says, "Bagad, it's a girl."
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a particularly interesting section.
I did not have a single note on this section of the book.
Yeah,
I forgot Rachel died.
Yeah, my notes are basically Rachel's death, Bagad, it's a girl, and Napoleon, which you brought up for me.
Cassie turns into a dolphin. Right.
I think she was already a dolphin.
It was. It's also, it does not help that this is 2 boat scenes in a row.
Yeah.
And like, so I was very confused of like, I mean, I knew it was a different time period, but it feels like there's a transition period where it's like, are some of them still the Washingtons, or when did what body of water are they in? It's all samey and just and like not.
It's of so all the battle she chooses too, yes. Right? Like you start off with the Battle of Agincourt. Okay, I don't know what the fuck that is when I'm a kid. And then we go to the Revolutionary War. I know about that as a kid. And then you go to Trafalgar. Like we're not going to go to Waterloo, right? I don't know anything about Waterloo as a 9-year-old, but I've heard of it. Right? And no, what the fuck is this? I don't know what the fuck this is. And then we're going to end up at D-Day. Okay, I've heard of D-Day. Why aren't they all things that as a kid I'm like, "Oh, I know what that is."
You could at least do like, whether or not you've heard of the specific history, you could do like a Viking battle or a Spartan battle, just things like different flavors of combat. This all just feels samey. It's not, none of it sparks. It's just like, it all just blurs together in my mind.
Yeah. And I do think that is like part of the point is that she doesn't want it to spark. Like she doesn't want it to be exciting or cool.
Boo.
Right? Yeah. No.
Where's cool, Ka? Get over it.
Like I get it, but it just drags. It just becomes boring.
Cassie.
Like
go play Spec Ops: The Line. Jesus Christ.
You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can get on to a more interesting scene, maybe.
Yes. The next section is my second favorite section.
Yes, this part's pretty good. So they this time they pop up at Princeton University in 1934, and they find out that there was no Revolutionary War. There was just like a colonial rebellion, and Tobias and Cassie run into some random students there, and you're not going to believe this if you haven't read this book. One of those random one of those random students calls Cassie the N-word. And they think that she's a runaway slave. And Cassie, of course, does the normal thing you'd expect from Cassie, and she says, "Oh, well, maybe you'd like me better if I was white." And she turns into a polar bear and menaces them. So, and I mean, anyway, some less interesting stuff happens. Like they meet up with Rachel, who didn't die, and she doesn't even remember dying. So apparently they can't die, I guess. But they figure out that Vistafur was here to kill Einstein, but Einstein is still in Germany because the timeline is differently. Basically, he fucked up all his own plans, right? Like, because he changed history, it's now not what he was expecting, so the changes that he was going to make aren't anything. And so the Animorphs figure out 2 things. A, they can't die because Krayak only demanded 1 life, and the Elemist is a stupid bullshit cheater, so you only did 1. So the rest of them can't die, no matter what happens to them. And B, history is already fucked up. It's too fucked up. They can't like stop him from changing history because it's already changed. So the only hope is to use the time matrix to just fix it all somehow. And also that might give them an opportunity to bring Jake back. They're going to use time.
Wasn't that the plan anyway, to get the time matrix? Like, you had to do that anyway. You had to stop him from having it.
It feels like for a lot of it, they were all like, "Oh, we'll just stop him from changing the past." How? Well, I don't know, because I don't know what was actually supposed to happen here. And it's only at this point where they're like, "Oh, we'll just get the time matrix and undo it." Like,
they should have had Eric here to be like, "I have 800 history books in my head. I can tell you what's going on."
Yeah. No, Eric would have been all like, "I was in this battle." That's me over there.
That would have been good. They should have run into him.
That's true. Why didn't they run into a Chi? Oh man.
They did. They didn't know.
They probably did.
So,
oh man.
All right. There's a lot here. The first thing I love about this section is Tobias ending up at Princeton University. So we're in New Jersey now. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I've been to Princeton. I didn't go to Princeton, but I've been to Princeton.
I have been to Princeton as well.
I live 45 minutes or so from Princeton University. So how's that?
Damn.
The first thing that tips him off, he's like, whoa, the things are different here. Everyone here is white.
Yeah, no, no, if you go to fucking Princeton University in 2023, you're going to be like, everyone here is white except for maybe some Asians.
And this is the 90s. It's like,
they're all fucking white.
You've stumbled into the bizarre alternate dimension known as every Ivy League school. This is the least shocking thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, no.
So funny.
Hey, let's loop back to her basically just being like, oh yeah, we're just not going to deal with the fact that Cassie might be treated any differently, and we'll just give her a slave. It really does feel like, hey, Applegate just doesn't really have a good handle on racial politics in America.
Yeah, but then who did in 1999, right?
Black people might have.
Well, them, sure. That a lot of that stuff does not play very well in this section. Yeah. Then Tobias, like, he tries to blend in as if he's a student. I'm like, aren't they going to notice that he's like 13?
Listen, nobody at school is going to ever notice that Rachel is dating a 13-year-old, even when they're 16. So, like, don't worry about it.
Okay, sure, whatever. But that said, this part of the book, I was on board again. I was like, this is more like the beginning, alternate reality shit, no battles at all. Mm-hmm. I don't know why this wasn't earlier. Like, you could have at least interspersed, to break up all the action or something. The stuff you were talking about, what were you talking about?
What, like America, like potentially prolonging slavery?
That too, but I also like the idea of them not being able to die. Mm-hmm. Reminds me of in Lost, they actually do some time travel stuff, and there's a thing where like you can't. So time travel works differently, in every time travel story. In Lost, it was like even you could like take a gun and shoot yourself, but the gun would jam because you just couldn't. You were not able to change the past. Like if you're alive in the future, then you're alive. Like you didn't die. You can't change it. So you almost have like a superpower where like you can't die. And that I was like, they didn't really do as much with that as I feel like they could have. But it's a cool idea to be like, we're kind of invincible now.
Yeah, I had started putting a note at the beginning of this for like comparing different time travel rules. Because as you said, the rules are always like totally different. But like that very quickly morphed into that note about how there are no rules because they have a time matrix. Like there are no rules with the time matrix. So it just doesn't, like there's no interesting comparison to be made. Like these rules are a little more interesting because they're not like time travel rules, right? These are Ellimist Crayak rules. Crayak said, I demand a life. And the Ellimist said, you only demanded a life. He, 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 he. And that's like clearly why it works this way. Because Jake can still die.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And then we have the racism stuff here.
Mm-hmm. Now, in book 19... When we were doing book 19, I think it was book 19, I made a joke, quote unquote, to you, that maybe there should be a like very special Animorphs in which Cassie gets called the N-word.
Oh my god!
And you were talking about it as though like, oh, maybe it would be like a badly handled 80s PSA. Now I was not joking. I did know this was going to happen. Now that you've seen it, did you think it was well handled?
So, I want to, for the audience, because people who maybe if you didn't read the book or it's been a long time, you don't remember, like they don't actually say the N-word.
No, they don't actually say it, but
it says the man's like some vile punctuation. He added a word I won't repeat. It was like a slap. I couldn't answer. I just gaped. And you do have to bring a little context here to surmise what he said. It's the reaction of Cassie where she kind of just goes Super Saiyan. It read to me as, I don't know, a little basic. Like
Yeah.
it's like in Back to the Future when Marty McFly gets real mad when you call him a chicken. Like it sort of feels like too, I don't know if too easy is the right way to phrase it, but it's just like, oh man, if there's one thing you don't want to do, oh man, it's called Cassie something racist because then she'll give you what for. It just feels like the white person's view of, oh, this is really progressive. Like I'm gonna show that it's racism is bad because watch out, she's gonna beat you up.
And it doesn't really feel like Cassie would be like Rachel might do something like this, but yeah, it feels like Cassie would be very hurt by this, but she's not, like, I don't actually see her turning into a bear and menacing someone. And the fact that she specifically does the, oh, would you like me better if I was white thing and turns into a polar bear, like, that's so jokey, right? Like, I gotta tell you, when I was saying this to you in book 19 and pretending it was a joke, I was really sad they didn't have their polar bear morphs yet, because I totally could have gotten away with being all like, oh yeah, what if she turned into a polar bear and was like me better now? You would never have thought that I was saying something real. Not in a million years.
Yeah. So little did I think it was real. I don't even remember the conversation.
Yeah. Oh, I was very pleased with myself.
Oh, I'm glad that you're happy. Yeah, it's not, it could have been handled better. It's not, I don't think it could have been handled worse too, I guess, but I don't know. It's what I do like that they just don't give a fuck anymore about hiding their identities right now. Yeah. They're just morphing right in public. It's like, whatever, who gives a shit?
Yeah, we're going to change the past anyway.
Einstein's dead. I don't know, or he's not. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah, I do like when they ask the guy, they're like, hey, what does E equal?
That's funny.
It was pretty good.
What does E equal?
I mean, the guy somehow figures out what they mean. Like, he's like, you mean like energy? I don't know that that's a valid, like, if somebody today asked me what E equaled, I'd be like, do you mean like 2.7? Like that E? What the fuck E are we talking about? Like, what?
It's pretty funny. And then Visser 4 starts, actually kind of throughout this whole book, he's been doing what I consider the equivalent of light speed skipping.
Oh yes, that's true.
From Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
Remember? They just jump through light speed to all those different, he just starts like rapidly going places.
I do vaguely remember that not being good.
And this is the point where also I wrote the note, this book may be a bit too ambitious for its own good.
That might be true.
And I think that's, you'll see why.
Yeah, I think we will. Now, I just want to throw one little last note in here. Okay. Davis and Friedman are the names of the people, the racists who menace them. Do you think in this timeline, because it's all white people, instead of Juan and Terry, we have Davis and Friedman?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that we understood.
This is their Wario and Waluigi.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So as I was saying, he's like doing light speed jumping and trying to shake off the time goo. But eventually they arrive at D-Day in World War II. So we're here we are in World War II, and immediately everyone is dying again. Like they're all getting shot and blown up, and who cares? They're dying on the beach. The Animorphs are like flying around, and they see Visser 4 with the time matrix in the back of a German Jeep. But he seems like he is a prisoner there, because he doesn't know what the fuck's going on anymore. It's like confirmed that they can't die. They get shot and they just kind of get back up again. They're totally fine. And it very quickly becomes clear that this is not World War II as we know it, right? The Germans and French are like fighting together under some kind of weird, different unified axis or possibly allied power. And they've got like symbols that are not familiar to the Animorphs at all. It's not like swastikas, it's some other weird shit. And, we remember the U.S. is explicitly a white supremacist state, so maybe they're the Nazis? Who knows? Who knows what the fuck is going on? We have no clue. So not knowing what's up, they get on the Jeep and they're getting ready to negotiate for Visser 4 when Hitler shows up.
Yeah, the audience goes nuts.
The audience goes nuts. It's Hitler. You're Hitler. And so Hitler is the truck driver. He's just some dude. He was never the Fuhrer. He was never Hitler. He's just some random guy driving the truck. So they don't know what to do, but Tobias is all like, well, that's Hitler, and so he kills him. First the dinosaurs, now Hitler. Tobias has killed Adolf Hitler. And a bunch of stuff gets like blown up. We'll talk about killing Hitler, but anyway, a bunch of stuff gets blown up, and Visser 4 gets like half crushed under debris, and he's dying, and his Yerk leaves. So Visser 4 crawls out of John Berryman as John Berryman is lying there dying, and Marco picks up the Yerk and throws it into a fire and kills Visser 4. Sure. All right.
This is the part of the book where it finally dawned on me that his secret is just the time matrix. I was like, Elfangor's not showing up, is he?
Yeah, no. They killed Hitler. We're done with. There's not. Yeah.
Now, this must have been, I think, a year or so after Saving Private Ryan came out.
Yes, I think you're right.
So, makes sense. Like, this would have been in people's heads. That was pretty impactful. That's how I measure history, is not like the actual D-Day is like whatever, but when Spielberg did it, that's when people started to care. And it's okay. The way it's depicted here, I think, is like there are a couple sections of, more descriptions of the horrors of war that are like, okay.
Yeah, again, all of that would have been better if it was the first or only time it happened. But
yes. This is also where Axe learns about the Holocaust.
Yes. He sure does. They tell him about the Holocaust.
And you said it at the very beginning, but I think this is where it's confirmed that Rachel is half Jewish, unless they mentioned it earlier.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's confirmed here that Rachel is Jewish, and but earlier Jake confirms it is his dad who is Jewish, and I'm pretty sure we already know that that's how they're related. Is that Jake's dad is part of Rachel's family, not his mom. So it's like implied earlier, but yeah, here it's very explicitly said.
She says my dad's Jewish. So she explains Jews to Axe too.
Yes, she explains Jews to Axe.
Also, she says the Germans murdered 6 million Jews, and Axe thinks obviously Rachel had misspoken. Axe is a Holocaust truther. Axe is saying
you can't say that, Axe.
6,600,000. Either way, it's a tragedy,
Listen, Axe is just asking questions. That's all.
And this is Axe's chance to to get the moral high ground and be like, even we never killed children. You fucking humans are crazy.
Yeah, some of this, I don't know. Like, some of that is just because I feel like normally you do see. Is it in this book or in a different book? K. Applegate says, like, oh, every species has, like, some secret shame, Because it feels like there's so much of this that wants you to be all like, oh, this is so uniquely evil, the way in which we kill each other and commit horrors like the Holocaust on each other. And I feel like normally throughout the book throughout the books in Animorphs, you see a lot more of a theme of like, no, actually, we're not uniquely evil. There's like all of these species do this. You can't just look at any one group and say this is bad in a way that nothing else is bad. Like, I don't know. It feels a little out of place to have Axe have this reaction. Like, it's not wrong for him to hate it, but
yeah, it's just the Holocaust gets involved, and the temptation is just to have everyone agree that this is a uniquely horrible thing that could never happen anywhere else and stuff like that. And
again, I don't like that because it's
the
not
Holocaust
uniquely horrible.
Brave stance.
We're taking the brave stance on this podcast that we don't like the Holocaust, but it's like, it's not uniquely evil. Like, look at the shit we did to the Native Americans. Look at the Belgian Congo. Look, there's like literally there are almost near constant genocides happening.
Gave him some corn and shit, some blankets. You know, it was fine. It worked out.
You know, I think
they got casinos now. It's fine.
The Holocaust is uniquely evil because it makes you think that it's not still, the shit isn't still happening to this very day, which it is. You know, like, we need to see it when it happens and not just pretend that, like, oh yeah, just don't do that exact thing again. I don't know.
And this is the clip they'll play when we win our podcast award.
It will be, yeah. They'll be all like, they'll just have me coming out and being like, the Holocaust wasn't that bad. I need to, what other sentences can I say out of context here?
I'm sure we have enough from earlier. I think we'll be able to pull from. Okay, so then there's also a part where Ka kind of she talks about how like war is bad, but but the soldiers, and I was just kind of just say the soldiers are bad too. Ka, just fucking go all in with it. Why are you holding back? Fuck them all.
Really, that's a lot more of a thing you can say now than you could say in the 90s.
Oh yeah, that was So no one's even wanting to say that now. It's support the damn troops.
But like, people are so fucking sick of our forever wars right now that you can say that.
Meanwhile, there's a lonely soldier in Afghanistan or Iraq somewhere. Which one did we pull out of? And all he has to keep him going is listening to episodes of the Yerky Boys, and a single tear just rolled down his cheek.
Well, he's cool because he listens to our podcast. I like that guy. Or girl. Rolls. Could be a woman.
Wow. Could it? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think women listen to our podcast according to our listener numbers.
So Hitler. So in this reality, Germany is still a major force in World War II or whatever this is.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can see that.
And Hitler still exists and still has his stupid mustache, but he's not a soldier even. He just drives a truck like he's just a guy.
I can sort of, because like the Animorphs still got born, whatever. If you want to be like, all the same people still get born, fine, whatever, fuck it. I don't.
It just doesn't. What is the butterfly effect nonsense of this? There's just no justification for it.
I mean, it does. Other than the fact that Hitler exists and looks the same, which I feel like you can hand wave. It does make sense and does work to me. Like it
feels contrived. That's all.
Yeah,
like we wanted Hitler here.
I see what you're saying about wanting Hitler here, but I do really like this take on the Hitler conundrum. I'm not gonna lie. I do actually really like this. I like the fact that they pull up Hitler and they kill Hitler, and the way you feel about it is you feel bad and you don't know if you did the right thing. Like, I like that it doesn't just say like, oh yeah, you go kill Hitler, or you like, you can't kill Hitler because whatever. Like, they do it and you don't know if it was right or not, and you feel bad. I like that. I like that lack of resolution there, and I like that after effect feeling.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, I also kind of like the take on it because, like, honestly, the whole "would you kill the baby Hitler" thing is a stupid hypothetical anyway. It's a stupid fucking hypothetical. Like, because it's just like, you don't know if the baby, like, it's not applicable to anything in real life, right? Like, it doesn't matter, right? Because you don't know who's Hitler and who's not Hitler until they're Hitler. Like, it would be a lot better of a hypothetical to say something like, if you went back in time to a hospital and you were in a hospital, and this baby is around the time when Hitler was born and around the place when Hitler's born, this baby could very well be Hitler. Do you kill it? Like, that's more applicable because you just, and I don't know, I feel like this book sort of, to quote Cassie here, he's not evil for who he is. No one is. You can't be evil for being someone. It's what you do, and this guy's just a driver. I don't know. I like it.
I agree. I agree that the scenario is interesting to consider. I suppose. Mm-hmm. I guess got hung up on the logistics of time travel and how it would lead to this situation exactly. But
Yes, I mean the fact that they just kind of run into him.
I guess it would work better for me if it was like we found Hitler and he's just like working in a shop or something versus like why is he also still here on the beaches of Normandy now?
Well, he
like,
wasn't there on the beaches of Normandy before.
Yeah, but like he's still like involved in the war in a major. I don't know. It's
because they immobilized everyone. He was an able-bodied man.
All right, sure.
Yeah, no, I feel you. It is a little contrived that they just kind of run into him here without meaning to. There is a little bit of a, you're Hitler. It's Hitler. Thing going on.
Clip.
Yeah.
But no one knows what that means. Yeah, whatever. If it were me, if I could go back in time and find a young Hitler, I would give him a hug. I would love him.
I see. And then he would learn to love the Jewish people because of the care that you showed him.
Sorry, I think that's a Michael Ian Black joke. I just stole that from somebody. I think it's funny.
You could have gotten away with it. I didn't know.
I didn't want to just steal. It's someone else's joke, and I probably misquoted it. All right. Okay, so he kills Hitler, and then they kill the Visser 4 and they go home. Right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. There's a couple more, but little details, but that's basically what happens. So they killed Hitler, and now we get to actually talk to John Berryman, because remember, the Visser 4 got crushed, and Marco killed the Yeerk because he's a little badass. Nobody else wanted to do any more killing. Marco's like, fuck you all, and threw him in the fire. But his controller is dying, so we get to talk to him. We find out that the Visser 4 only wanted to change that original Agincourt battle because John Berryman, as an actor, used to annoy him by reciting Shakespeare's Henry V at him over and over. So literally half the book, that's what that was about, we find out. Anyway, Cassie's got a plan to fix everything. So they use the time matrix to go back and stop John Berryman's parents from meeting so that he was never born and Visser 4 never found the time matrix. And so now everything is fixed because Visser 4 doesn't have time goo to stop that from changing him. And I guess being in a different host made him not find the time matrix. But whatever, it never happened. The whole book never happened. They undid history. And Jake is back alive too because they never went back in time. So yay, it's all fixed. Hooray. They did it.
Yep. They changed only what they needed to change and literally nothing else. Everything is back to normal.
Yeah.
Just because his parents didn't hook up.
Yeah, don't worry about the loop that they couldn't have done that if he didn't do it. The time matrix fixes that problem. And don't worry about the fact that like if he's, well, I guess he didn't go with them this time, so that kind of works. Yeah, I don't know. Sure.
There's some really bad hippie dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've got some written here. It's good. I don't think I would say bad.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm using slang. I'm saying like it's bad, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's real, man? Real is just like, it's like, like whatever, right? Yeah. Right on.
That's John Berryman. His father who was also named John Berryman, and Teresa Knowlton.
Sure.
That's their names, his parents' names.
It's pretty goofy for a book that tonally, like, we just got out of the Holocaust and now we're on like dumb hippie jokes.
Yeah.
What is that?
It feels like it's trying to do some very serious things at the ending here, which I don't know that it really does. Like it feels like we've got like another instance of like Cassie doing the terrible sin, like when, we don't want to kill David, but the only way is to trap him as a rat. But she thinks of that idea, and then here it's like, oh, well, we don't want history to be fucked up, so we're going to make it so he was never born. And now Cassie has to bear this terrible sin. But I don't know that I care that much. Probably because I don't give a shit about John Berryman.
that should be more impactful, but I didn't even like remember that. Like who cares?
Yeah.
But I should care. You're right. I should be like, you're effectively murdering a person, or erasing them from history. But whatever.
Yeah,
it was just so stupid.
Yeah. And there's a couple lines, but not a lot of exploration given to the idea of like, is it right to change history, right? Because there's like, oh, okay, so the United States is a white supremacist state, sure, but also the Holocaust never happened. So like you've got like a trolley problem. If we go back and put it there, does that mean we caused the Holocaust? Is that okay? Cassie ends the book with the line, no, we didn't make it right, but we put it back, Jake. Leave it at that. We put it all back. And it does feel like there's supposed to be some kind of like reckoning with like the horrors of human history here. But I just don't know that it hits. And I guess that's supposed to tie in with the war is hell theme. Again, I just don't know that I feel it.
Yeah. It feels like, all right, so the book's over. We're done with
the book. The book is over. Yeah, I just said the last line of the book, so the book is over.
I actually wasn't sure. I thought maybe you'd like this book a little more than I did. It doesn't sound like you did. I thought this was pretty disappointing. I was pretty excited to read it, and I've enjoyed both of the first two Megamorphs books. Even the first one I liked. And this just was, I thought, pretty boring and convoluted, and it feels like the kind of thing that exists for Animorphs fans to be able to say like, hey, I bet you didn't know that the Animorphs technically made the Holocaust happen. Or
Tobias I bet you didn't know. People,
Tobias
that's the one
killed
people
Hitler.
Say. Tobias killed Hitler.
Right. Yeah. That's the end result of this book. That's really what it amounts to, is that so you can say a stupid little fact and people will go, what the fuck? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's otherwise this book doesn't need to exist. I don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, like when I think about what I like about this book, the whole intro, the like couple of intro chapters, as you said, I love. And then the other parts that I really like are Cassie gets called the N-word and Tobias kills Hitler. And they're literally just things, like you said, that you can then say, like, did you know that there's an Animorphs book in which this happens? And then the rest of it is pretty boring, yeah.
If someone described this book to you, just gave you a synopsis, you'd be like, holy shit, that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
And in practice, it's like, nah, it's not that crazy.
Yeah, and that was one of the things when I was planning this book out, is that there was, at first I was all like, I don't know, maybe I need to split it up, and then I was like, ooh, it might be fun to do it as like a really long episode, especially because that one time where you made the joke where you were like, ooh, if we go too long, I might say a slur, and I was like, oh, this is the slur book, it could be fun. But as I'm like taking notes on it, it was just like, yeah, there's just so much of this is just like, I have more plot summary than I have notes about the majority of this book because, it's just action, action, action. Okay, sure.
Disappointing. It feels like there's like a page quota she just had to fill, so she just kept adding in more of these. I can't imagine she was having fun writing these. It didn't feel like anyone actually enjoyed writing this book, so I don't know how they expected me to have fun reading it, but
yeah.
Oh well.
Again, like I said, I do see like things that it feels like she was trying to do, but I just don't know that it came through.
Well, the passion Kay Applegate has is for Star Trek, and that's what the Mirror Universe is, and that's the fun part of this book that she abandons and then does just boring history shit.
So you want more Animorphs books where they're like in an alternate timeline?
That's my favorite. Like every Joss Whedon show, a lot of like all the Star Treks have this. Where whenever there's an episode where it's like all the characters lose their memory, or all the characters wake up in different bodies, like that kind of shit is always so fun when you know the series and the characters and you get to play around with the dynamics. Like that could have been great. Or maybe one of the Animorphs has their memory, so they have to like navigate the world, but all the other ones think they're Nazis still. Way more fun than what happens here.
Yeah.
Didn't amount to much.
I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of potential there that didn't get done. One thing I noticed with the construction of this book, I wonder if you noticed it, because sometimes in your version that like it doesn't do a good job designating chapters, is that I was losing track of who was talking as I was reading this. And in my copy, they've got like at the beginning of the chapter, it'll like have a picture of Axe and it'll say Axe in huge letters, so you know it's Axe. This didn't happen that much with Axe because he talks a little bit distinctly, but there were times where it would just some character would be like, oh, and then I got all fucked up, and then I'd just be like, okay, so wait a second, so somebody is lying here on the ground hurt. Is this Cassie, Marco? Right? Let me flip back to the beginning of the chapter because I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like I have this problem a lot more than in the other Megamorphs.
Axe is very serious in this book too. I thought he's like doesn't really joke around a lot. But yeah, I did not have pictures in mind. I did have the titles saying whose POV it was, but I also had the same issue of who is this, or also just like, wait, when did that character show up? Were they always there the whole time, or did they just pop in, or like which part of the battle are they all in right now? It was just all very chaotic and disorganized feeling.
Yeah.
It felt like a first draft of a book.
You make a good point about Axe too.
Thank you.
Because we had just done a little bit of talking about Axe being like overly goofy in book 28, and like how I kind of enjoyed that, but you had like was it
we
Nick
brought up
No-Name?
Flanderization, yeah,
and you brought up Flanderization about it. And yeah, like Axe is not the same guy in this book that he is in 28, and he probably does have more in common with the Axe from books 8 and 18. Like it feels like 28 is like, it's bringing his character down a path, and then this book doesn't really realize that he started going down that path.
Probably it was either written out of order because K. Applegate was writing it earlier, or she's just not, that was more the ghostwriters thing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable to assume.
Or it was just there's too much shit going on in this book. She just forgot to throw in a joke for him. Can I buy cinnamon buns in Normandy? Whatever the fuck he would say.
That is what he would say.
Oh, this reminds me of when Ross was studying history on the Friends show. Whatever the fuck.
It does feel like Axe should really like the phrase D-Day. D-Day. Deed.
Jew-ish. Hitler. Ooh, I like that one. Hitler. Axe.
Holocaust.
What was that word that man called you, Cassie? Interesting sounds it made.
Oh no.
X no.
X.
Okay. All right. Here's the pop culture references from this book. Actually, I also wanted to ask: do they still have the time matrix? What happened to it? I don't remember. Do they have it now? Where'd it go?
It's still under the construction site because he never found it.
But they know where it is, right? Can they go get it? Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah. I don't listen.
All right, pop culture. Marco is playing Pong, which his dad bought for his family. The Tin Man? I don't think so, Toto. I don't remember the context of these. Which one of you ate at Taco Bell today? Because she like smells salsa on somebody's breath. There's lice packed onto French heads like fans at a fish concert. Okay, cool, K. Applegate. The soldiers weren't all buff like some Schwarzenegger action hero. And this is a reference, right? They weren't fat. They were like, aha, your blade merely penetrated my belly fat and one kidney, a flesh wound. Have at you, sir. Does that Holy Grail reference? A flesh wound?
I counted it because it does say a flesh wound. It feels like it's a Holy Grail reference.
I wasn't sure about the rest of the quote because the whole thing sounds like it. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It feels like she was drawing on that joke for inspiration there.
Yeah. Well, this was, before we had DVD. Well, no, that's not true. We had DVD. She could have watched this. No, actually, probably didn't. We're probably just on the cusp of DVDs.
Yeah, but my family had this on VHS. You could cheat. There's no excuse.
Sure.
The real, true way to watch movies, of course.
Sure. All right. Rachel does an impersonation of Wile E. Coyote trying to stop in midair after he's just run off a cliff. They mention that Shakespeare wrote a play about the Agincourt battle before we find out what it is later on. The Love Boat takes a detour to hell. Famous painting shows Washington in a boat, quote, like one of the lifeboats from Titanic. Not from the Titanic, from Titanic. So that's the movie. The wet gunpowder might as well be Bisquick. They use poles to keep the iceberg, or he talks about using poles to keep the icebergs from turning us into a bunch of badly dressed Leonardo DiCaprios. Okay, sure. There are ropes as thick as Mark McGuire's biceps. He refers to everyone at Princeton looking like Stepford students. Of course, they reference Einstein. Visser 4 and Hitler are riding in a Jeep. Yeah. Trademark name there. They reference John Wayne at Iwo Jima. The German/French captain, maybe I couldn't, or they didn't know what they are, or I wasn't sure who they are, calls them Frankenstein. And then John Berryman reciting Henry V. That's all I had.
I have a bullet point for Raisinets here too, but I don't remember where it came from.
Oh, did I skip that one? I have it here. Sorry, okay. I got confused or distracted by the flesh wound. Yes, if you want to buy some popcorn and Raisinets, better hurry, is what they say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry.
good.
Yeah. I don't remember why they say it, but they say it. Listeners, how would you like to get even more content from us this week?
Oh God, no.
Well, you can, if this isn't enough for you. Actually, this week is going to be a lot of fun because over at patreon.com/theyerkyboys, we have a special bonus episode this week, as we do every week, in which we're going to be discussing Xena, Warrior Princess.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty big.
It's exciting.
Pretty big. We're talking about Xena. I have, before this show, never, ever watched Xena. So we're going to check out a few episodes and you're going to hear my reactions. I don't know if you've seen a Xena, but seen a Xena. That's pretty funny.
I have seen a Xena.
Well, check it out.
They'll have to, if they want more info than that, they'll have to come check it out.
Yeah, of course. $5 a month. You can become a controller at the patreon.com/theyerkyboys. Why don't you tell them how they could contact us?
If you have anything that you would like to say, any corrections, any fan fiction you would like to write, fan theories, we will read them on the air. You can email us at theyerkyboys@gmail.com, and we will put it on the air no matter what you say.
Wow, pretty cool. Hey, check my stuff out at my website, jonathanestis.com. And you know what? I write for GoNintendo.com. And they just put out a little article about people's favorite video games from the year, and I got a little blurb in there about my favorite games that I played. So there you go. Go check that out.
Yeah,
that's my plug. Cute.
Yeah,
thanks.
Go check that out.
Thanks. Isn't that cute?
You can, and I guess you could follow me as well on at Dog Times Mickey at Blue Sky.
My name is Quence there, but I guess if anyone looked, they wouldn't know. They might be confused. But Quence is usually my online handle.
Yeah. Sure. I don't think anyone cares. I don't care.
Well, then if they clicked, they'd be like, well, where's Jonathan? They wouldn't know.
That's
so now
true.
I'm just clearing it up.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Tune in next time when we'll be talking about Book 30, The Reunion, in which Marco turns into a cockroach on The Yerky Boys.
Or just do that.